Un subwoofer en un sistema hi-fi en estéreo, muchos dirán ¡herejía! Pero eso solo si no has conversado con alguien que conozca muy bien del tema. Y esa es la suerte que hemos tenido acá en Supersonido porque nos ha visitado Kirill Nenarokomov, quien es el jefe internacional de ventas para la compañía británica REL, quien lleva 35 años fabricando subwoofers y nada más. Hemos tenido una conversación muy larga pero muy interesante sobre las distintas razones en las que dos subwoofers o un line array de subwoofers puede mejorar la respuesta de su sistema y hacer que tus columnas suenen como nunca han sonado. Y para el primer vídeo de esta serie, este de hoy mismo, vamos a presentarles una combinación que para mí personalmente me voló la cabeza. Y es un line array de subwoofers RELs S812 con una pareja de Sonus Faber Amati de la serie Homage. Una belleza. Comenzamos. Pero desde el momento en que hemos hecho esta configuración con los expertos de REL, creo que he estado presenciando algo único, diría yo, e incluso revolucionario, en la que añadiendo solo un elemento más, bueno, en este caso, ese elemento siendo subwoofers, podemos cambiar el sonido y la respuesta de un sistema de forma tan radical y positiva. Desde la apertura de la escena sonora, desde la naturalidad de los sonidos y la rapidez con la que entrega ese grave, es un deal breaker, como dirían en inglés, algo que cambia totalmente el juego de cómo concibimos nuestros estéreos en casa. Y yo creo que en primer lugar hay que quitarnos esa idea simplista y a veces purista incluso, de decir, pues mira, ya a mi sistema estéreo no necesita más graves, no tengo por qué añadir más, de hecho, hasta me sobran y no sé cómo controlarlos. Pero como dice REL en su lema, no se trata del grave, sino del espacio.
They shipped the older 212 SE, and then they said, oh, we love the subwoofer, so can you come here, do the trainings for our team, you know, tell us about the brand, tell us about how you set up rails and things. And I'm like, sure, I'll fly to Bangkok. And they're like, how much time do you need? And I thought about it and I said, well, probably I'll need like 2 full days, morning to the evening.
For setting up.
For the general
the
training, you know,
yeah.
Just to explain things how relevant. And they're like, you're gonna be speaking about the subwoofers for 2 full days? And we ended up taking almost 3 days, and it was still not enough. It's not all about the subwoofers, obviously. You saw it yesterday.
No, it's about the physics.
Before we touched the subwoofer setup, we spent like 4, 5, 6 hours here just dealing with the speaker setup, just getting the sound right, adjusting all the possible settings in the system, testing different types of cable connection to the speaker to make sure that the speakers are performing at their best. When that's done, when your system sounds fantastic, you switch to start adding the subwoofer. And that takes much shorter time.
Because we're seeing the subwoofer not just a means to add more bass to the music, but to help the main speaker.
Not at all. Like a good speaker doesn't require adding the bass, let's be fair. And let's be honest, we never try to fix a broken speaker. If you need to really add bass, that means that there's something wrong with the speaker. The majority of the manufacturers are doing their job very well. They invest a lot of time and money in building perfect speakers, which sound fantastic. So if you have a good amplifier and you place them right in the room, you're getting a very good sound out of your system. What we do with the rail, we extend the low frequencies as low as possible, just helping the speaker to get and redeem some bottom end. And that creates this fundamental energy support because of the size of the drivers we're using that helps the speaker to perform on top of that energy using the energy created by the subwoofer properly.
Kinetic energy, I think you mentioned yesterday, right?
It's just it's the movement of the air particles, because what you're doing, if you have a static room, right? You have a quiet room, the air is static, everything is static, the molecules of air, they oscillate but they don't move. The sound wave is an oscillation of air particles that transfers through the air. And that means that basically the speaker is pushing the air in the room and needs to pressurize this room. So with smaller driver membranes, you have to apply more power to drive. The bigger your room is, the louder you want to play, the more power you need to drive. And kind of the speaker struggles through a quiet room. When you're adding a big driver to the system and you're extending the low frequency, you're creating the pre-powered airflows, oscillations of the particles in the room on the low frequencies that can be used to modulate the sound by the speaker. And that kind of like becomes an easy comparison. If you imagine the speaker is a dancer and then the empty room is a beach, and you force the dancer to do the pirouettes and all the moves on the sand beach. When you add a proper subwoofer, in case of REL, you're building a wooden floor for the dancer to perform perfectly, which makes it so much easier in all aspects. Not only how your feet works, right? Not only in the bass, but it also affects the mid-range and the high frequencies because it's much easier for the speaker to deliver the full frequency range all the way to the listener.
Sí. Así que como pueden ver acá, tenemos hoy acá un experto de REL Subwoofer. De hecho, Kirill acá es el director internacional de ventas de la empresa y está acá en Supersonido hoy en Barcelona con el evento de REL en el que nos está presentando un line array con subwoofers para ver cuál es la diferencia y qué añade y qué ganamos con un equipo estéreo de HiFi. Well, Kirill, I think we started talking before the introduction, but that's great.
Correct.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
What would you say compared to any other, there's many subwoofers out there in the market, I know really special, but from your point of view, what makes it special compared to what is out there?
That's a great question. So first of all, it's really good that there are a lot of good subwoofers in the market, right? Because the subwoofer market is the part of the hi-fi market, and I think that everybody today, all the hi-fi companies, they pursue the same goal. We want to expand the market and we want to make hi-fi affordable and known to the majority of users. So we want to attract more people to the hi-fi world, to enjoy the sounds, to improve their lifestyle, and to make their just everyday living more comfortable through the good sound systems. And with all the other manufacturers, we try to do our best. We do our marketing investments to spread the word about what we're doing and what others are doing, how good the good sound is. So if you compare REL to the other subwoofer manufacturers, what probably makes it different is, first of all, we are one of the mono brand manufacturers, like the mono product manufacturers. So REL for 35 years has been the company that's building only subwoofers, focusing only on the subwoofers. And this is our main purpose and goal, to make something that plays bass at a certain reference level. The other thing is that in the beginning, REL has pursued a little bit different goal. We were aiming to build a subwoofer that'll be flawless and perfect in music reproduction. And playing the low frequencies in music is different to be playing the low frequencies in a home theater. It's a different goal, it's a different purpose. The power, the speed, the feedback the subwoofer gives when you're playing music should match the speaker. The speaker is a much more precise tool. And then you have to reproduce the sound of real music instruments. Because even from the big drums, but then down to any other musical instrument that produces any bass or produces the sound that has bass in its subtones and harmonics, requires a much higher precision and speed of the response comparing to an LFE effect or a big movie effect, right? When you're playing an explosion in the theater, it should be massive, it should be entertaining, it should be fun, it should be powerful, but it's a big effect. It starts, it rolls, you roar, and you follow this effect, right? Then it ends. So if you deliver enough power and you do it really nicely, it sounds very tasty, it sounds fun and juicy. That is the home theater application. There's much more nuances to this. We have our own vision on the home theater. But if we switch back to the music, imagine it's just a violin playing and your subwoofer has to do the nuances, the subtones of the violin string creating the sound of a violin. So that is a completely different task to this driver. It has to have micro movements and be extremely precise as a really good speaker.
Right.
And that is the goal that we've been pursuing and we've been focusing in our development for 35 years. And pretty much REL is the only company in the world who did that. And that gives us like 35 years of knowledge and research in advance to get us to the point where we are as of today.
I see.
And I think if you ask anybody about a stereo subwoofer for a musical system, the REL will always come first.
But I think because most of our customers, most people in the market, the users, there's this conception that subwoofers for cinema, for explosions, for very not controlled explosions, just something that you feel in your chest and that makes you feel good. But like you're saying, when it comes to music, you need something that is way more precise because it's not just about the boominess, it's about helping out the rest of the frequencies of the speaker.
That's what we thought about. Okay, so how large can your speaker be, right? It always has physical limitations. It's only to do with the physical size and just the general theory of sound propagation in the room. You cannot create real 20 hertz or even 25 hertz from a speaker that is reasonable sized. Mm-hmm. If it's not like a refrigerator size speaker, then you will be limited. Even if it's a really big speaker, to do that you need a really big amplification system to be able to play, to deliver enough current and enough power to the speaker to reproduce those lowest frequencies.
Of course.
So, because there is a majority of speakers that are mid-sized or smaller speakers or even the bigger speakers, but still not huge, our goal is to be able to extend each of them as near to the full range as possible. And we're, as I mentioned before, we're not adding more bass because the bass in the speakers is perfectly fine. The speaker defines how everything sounds. The subwoofer just helps it to go deeper and start sounding more natural.
And to propagate it as well and fill the room nicely.
But the other purpose is to make the speaker sound more natural, because for us as human beings, everything in nature sounds full range. So everything we're listening to in everyday life, the sounds in the street, the voices of our friends and family, all the sounds we hear since day one we're born are reproduced in full range. There is no limitations in the nature, right? So when we're reproducing music, if we're able to extend it closer to the full range at a certain quality level, it makes the speaker sound more natural, music sound more natural, the instruments sound live and like real instruments. And we start believing in what we hear, and we're just, diving into the music. And the system that sounds almost full range or full range creates a much better emotional connection between the music and the listener.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of people that probably looking for the clinical, just the details in the music, but they forget about the emotion that it should bring you. Because in the end, I listen to music to get to be emotion, but right. Feel emotion about it.
And there are some differences. You can call it with different words, right? You can say something sounds pretty. What does pretty define? Sounds nice. Okay, that's a good term. But does it sound real? Does it sound emotional? Does it sound dirty sometimes? Does it sound like scary or ugly or disgusting? These are also emotions that you have to be able to deliver from the system if they're in the music. And that's our goal. That's what we deliver with our systems. You've already heard those short sessions we've been doing here.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever we're playing some violin concertos, and the violin sounds really natural and it sounds very honest. And if you are into classical music and you know the orchestras, you know the musicians, you can even tell what type of a violin is being played, which model of the violin, who is the performer. And then we switched to playing Credence by Opeth, I think, the opening sequence of that track.
Yeah.
When the drum is actually just kicking through your soul.
That was just amazing. It was like having the guy just literally in front of me. I know this is said a lot, but I mean the naturality of how it was played, the toms. Not only because you would say only the kick, no, the kick, the toms, the hi-hats, everything just sounded way more natural.
But the good thing about it is, what you heard is just made better by the subwoofers over here, by the rails, right? But the whole character of that sound has been produced by the speaker. Like these subwoofers, this full stack here is crossed well below 36 hertz, right? So we're not playing higher than 36 hertz. After 36 hertz, we are rolling off, and the speaker plays its full range. So I think the top subwoofer is set around 36 hertz.
Okay.
Let's say the other two are set even lower. At this frequency, you don't get the slam. So the kick that you've heard, it doesn't really come from here. It always comes from here. Because if any fast effect in home theater, in music, whatever, you have a snap on the drum or you have an explosion in the movie theater. First, you hear the snap of the high frequencies. That comes from here, and then it rolls down through the speaker. Then the body comes in, and then it comes in and becomes higher, wider, more powerful. And then it goes through the subwoofer. It just like finishes the whole process that starts in the speaker of building this big sound effect. And if you're fast enough and you can just support the speaker and continue it flawlessly and naturally, then you hear the extension that results in a much more powerful and more natural impact. But if we disconnect them, and that's what we're doing a lot during the demos, you can hear that the speaker sounds fantastic and it does everything. And this just like puts a cherry on the top of that cake, finishing the whole sound stage.
Os puedo decir que esa es una de las pruebas que estábamos haciendo ayer, en la que tenemos el full array, cada uno soportando los drivers de distintos rangos de frecuencias, pero en lo que apagábamos esto, de verdad, seguía allí la presencia del sonido, era muy detallado, pero le faltaba la naturalidad de la que él habla. Y en lo que lo volvemos a poner, es como que... Y la escena sonora también se reducía un montón. I'm going to ask you one question that we get asked every day, which is, what's different or what's better connected by high or low frequencies? No, not high-low frequencies, by a high or low?
Yeah, high level, low-level input.
Exactly.
So, look, in our application, how we use the rails, we use the high-level input as the primary input in stereo systems. We do that because it's the easiest way, and this is the correct way to deliver the signal into the subwoofer, so the signal is fully matching the one that goes into the speaker. Because we want to chameleon, we want to copy the signal with all of its nuances, the full shape and the character of the input signal that goes into the speaker, to be able to play the same bass as this would play, right? So we need to make them completely coherent, and we need them to sound alike, as REL would be, in this case, a part of a Sonos Faber system, right? So what we achieve by using the high level is we're taking the signal off the amplifier. So it already has the shape of the source, the character of the preamp, and the character and the signal from the amplifier. So we're using the final stage of that signal. And, well, considering the cables are almost delivering the signal at the speed of light, then we get it at exactly the same time with the same phase that the speaker does. And then as the REL is able to play as fast as a passive speaker to process the signal inside the RELs, it takes exactly the same time as it takes the speaker to work through a passive crossover. We're able to deliver and emit the bass, reproduce the bass, exactly with the same shape, character, and timing as the speaker does. And that's the reason to use the high-level connection.
Because via LFE, it goes through a different circuitry, it's
through the
then
low
filtered.
level, you're taking it from the pre-out, right, from the pre-amplifier. On the way to the speaker, there's still the amplifier, and it's a different signal.
Okay.
But if you ask me, like, what happens when you use a REL with an active speaker? Like, we take an active pair of speakers, which are being driven from the preamplifier, the signal is being fed from the preamplifier. In this case, we'll definitely say, yeah, we have to use the low level, because that's exactly what goes into the speaker. So these options of connectivity just allow you to match the subwoofer with the speakers better, in our case.
I see, that's really good. And I imagine the question everyone is asking at the moment while they see this video is like, why are these guys stacking 3 subwoofers on top of each other? And Kirill will give us an answer for that, and the explanation.
Well, the simple answer is that because we don't need to stack 5 over here, which we could, right? But the real answer is, so bass stands behind each frequency, and bass is the support for each driver in the speaker system. If we are able to create a linear array that delivers the sound and creates linear airflows, oscillations on the full size of the speaker, it equivalently supports and benefits the low frequency drivers, the mid-range section, and the tweeter. which is extremely important because you have to create this teleport that delivers the sound of each section of the speaker to the listener flawlessly and easy and relaxed.
Like a highway for it, basically.
Right. You're basically creating like a highway, you know, like a ocean flow that carries things to the listener much easier than a quiet room. So the idea is to build up a subwoofer array to the height of the speaker. So the full speaker is covered with the bass support.
Okay.
Each subwoofer in the stack is set to its individual settings. Each of them has a different purpose.
Okay.
The bottom one being pressurized and standing on the ground under the other two is creating the lowest frequency, and it creates the slow bass that creates the extension for the speaker.
That roll off.
The mid one is more responsible for the impact, for the kick and the slam, and how powerful your speakers sound, how open it sounds, and that is basically defined with the upper bass to the mid-range of the speaker. And then the top one, it focuses the tweeter, it helps the tweeter to deliver the high frequencies and enrich the high frequencies with the bass subtones. You heard that again. You hear that the space is opening, the voices are becoming stronger, they are more connected to the body, and that's the purpose of the upper subwoofer.
I see.
The other thing what our array does is creates the third dimension, a proper third dimension for the stereo image. And a lot of people think that in stereo the third dimension is the depth of the stereo image, but the depth is the definition of stereo as well as the width, right? So we have the stereo image that's wide, and then it's focused in the center, and the depth, that's all created by the speakers. What we can do is, by lifting the energy off the floor, we can create a proper height of the stereo image, and we can create the sound stage that will be equivalently strong over here where the head of the performer should be, or if it's on the stage, it takes you even higher. Or if you're playing like, a big electronics track like an EDM and you need like a wall of sound over here, that's how you reproduce a wall of sound. It doesn't lock the energy closer to the floor down to your feet. It lifts it from the floor, and that's what we're doing. One of the demo techniques we're doing with a line array, we're taking the top subwoofer off, we're disconnecting just the top subwoofer, and what happens is the sound stage just collapses and like almost shrinks to a certain point in the middle comparing to the space that was recreated before. So this is the next step after the stereo pair, to grow it up and create a proper support for the speaker.
So it's more as a support in this case for each of the drivers that's managing different frequencies.
Yes, just like
in
look
a way.
at the speaker also as a linear array of different drivers, and this just follows the shape of the speaker.
Pues a todos estas muchos pensarán, a ver, es una locura, esto es muy alto, no me cabe en casa, no hay manera de que lo pueda meter en mi salón. No os preocupéis, recordad que bueno, aquí estamos igualando la altura de este altavoz, pero tus altavoces son muy distintos, las circunstancias acústicas de tu sala son muy distintas, así que ante cualquier duda, por favor, contáctenos, no lo dudéis, y bueno, aquí estamos todos los compañeros de Supersonido para darle el apoyo que necesiten para configurar y encontrar esa configuración de subwoofer que se adapta mejor a vuestros HiFi. Y bueno, este es el vídeo de hoy. Muchas gracias por visitarnos. Recordad seguirnos, darle me gusta al vídeo para más contenido como esto. Cualquier pregunta nos los podéis dejar en los comentarios o contactarnos directamente por correo o cualquier otra de las vías tradicionales. Y bueno, luego de la audición de ayer, cuando inicialmente configuramos este sistema, voy a tomar prestadas las palabras de nuestro amigo Nacho, alguien muy querido acá en Supersonido, que dice: al final lo que vamos a lograr es tener el escenario de rock o la filarmónica más pequeña del mundo en casa.